Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon when you are listening and catching this. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 51. I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your support, really appreciate you tuning in, and hope that this is continuing to provide value for you. So the premise of Run It Back remains the same. Basically, we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we take a look at preparation for the game, scout matchup, intricacies that went into the preparation, intricacies that went into the game planning, etc. And then in addition to that, we spend a little bit of time going through some film, looking at the game, taking a look at certain parts of the game. Would we do it the same? Would we do it different? What's the background of why we're choosing that play? So today we're examining the game of Uncg versus Etsu, which took place March 7th, 2021. This is a fairly recent game. This is in uh, the most recent NCAA season. This is during the SoCon tournament. And so for all of our episodes, for the most part, we've been very fortunate to have one of the coaches from the game join us. We're doing this game from UNCG's perspective. So we have the esteemed gentleman, Mr. Andre Gray, joining us today. Andre, if you give me a second, I'm going to try to do my best to do a little bit of justice with a warm welcome here. Coach Gray has been an assistant coach. He's just completed his third season at UNCG. He spent 3 years prior to that at UNC Charlotte, 1 year at Winston-Salem, 3 years at UNC Wilmington, 3 years at Western Carolina, 1 year at Gardner-Webb, 4 years at Wingate, which is one of his alma maters where he completed his master's degree, and 2 years at Methodist, 2 years at Methodist, which is his other alma mater where he completed his undergraduate. And for anybody who's tuning in, I just want to take a second and give a big thanks to Coach Gray for, first off, giving us some of his time today, which of course is awesome, but has just been a gentleman who's always been willing to answer his phone, give knowledge, and I just genuinely appreciate that as somebody who's on the outside up here in Canada. So, Coach Gray, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have Mr. Carolina himself in the room with us. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, Menelik, and thank you so much for having me on. We tried to schedule this during the year and kind of got bogged down with some scouts and things of that nature. So I'm excited to be here with you. Heard great things about it, and I look forward to sharing a little bit of knowledge.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And yes, to anybody who is a Run It Back fan, we had an episode earlier in the year where we covered UNCG, and like Coach Gray said, unfortunately with the COVID season, scheduling is tough for sure. So elaborating on that a little bit, let's go through the process of this particular game. You guys, you're in the SoCon tournament. You've played this team twice before during the year, and you only have 1 day between games, if I'm not mistaken. You played the night before. So, take me through your process. When do you start the scout? What are you looking at? Do you give more weight to the games that you've previously played, or do you give more weight to the recent games that they have played? How are you going through the process?
Yeah, the tournament scouts are always a little different because, like you said, you played the team twice prior. Um, in this case, with ETSU, we actually finished our regular season with them. So we had just played them a week before.
Right.
Which was, so as far as the preparation, as far as personnel, things of that nature, um, it was pretty much done for that tournament games. The day before when they played their game in the quarterfinals, it was more about seeing if they put anything new in, if they made some adjustments with their sets, if they put any new sets in. ETSU is kind of a difficult scout, more for the special teams areas. What they do offensively and defensively is kind of vanilla, but they play out of bounds defense differently in different games. So trying to scout which way we expected them to come out and play the out of bounds on the lead defense, things of that nature, was some of the things I watched for that day before. But a typical scout, it really kind of depends on the time of year. For example, when we played them the last game of the season, I like to watch each of the opponent's games personally.
Right.
I won't cut them all. I'm old school. We have people on our staff that video guys that will cut the film for you, but I'd rather cut my own film. I'm like old school that way. I like and what I've always done, I would watch 2 or 3 games before I even start to pretend to cut them. And that way I get a feel, because I want to get a feel for their pace. I want to get a feel for how they call and they plays. And that's why it helps me when I'm cutting them. I can see, hey, this is a play like the run after timeouts. It's just not a row of plays. And that helps me as I start formulating my ideas how to attack them, is by watching a few games first before I actually cut them.
I love it. I have so many questions about your process now. So
and once I get that done, and I usually will cut the last 6,
right.
14. But then once I'm done with it, that's when I go back and start just watching other games again, just so I can watch some more for watching situations, seeing how this guy called at the timeouts. Is he a dude that draw up plays? What some of the actions he like to run out of bounds underneath and things of that nature? Just trying to help the team out.
So how do you guys as a staff break down games? Like how many scouts would you do, and would only one coach do one particular scout, or does like sort of everybody group everything together for each scout? How does that work in terms of the breakdown?
We have the 3 assistants. We all split them up during the year. We all have teams that each one of us work on, and then we present it to the head coach. Wes Miller here is really hands-on with our scouts, so he watched probably as much film as we do. He'll know the opponents well we do. May not watch as much film, but we'll sit down and present to him what we've seen. He'll tell us kind of the things that he saw, and then we try to together come up with a game plan. We will have other assistants sometimes in the room, sometimes it don't. It kind of just depends on our schedule. Because
love it.
So it really kind of depends. Like if you have back-to-back games, the guy who got the next game may not be in the room. A lot of times the night before, because we grade every game afterwards. If I have the next scout, sometimes I won't be in the grading sessions and things like that. So we don't tag team as a staff, but everybody's allowed to give an input. Like the guy may say, hey, I got this call from one of my buddies, or you notice that they was doing this against this team. So everybody have a little bit of input into it.
In terms of what you present to the guys, like to your players, what does that look like? So I mean, you've watched all your games, as you said, you've gone through, you've put together what you thought was pertinent. Then you go to Wes, and you guys sit down and you go through that, you comb through it, probably refine it a bit. Now to the guys, what are they getting? Are they getting a paper copy? Are they getting just the clips? Does everybody get all the same thing, or do certain players get more than others? How does that work for you?
Well, the standard is we give them paper personnel. So they get personnel on paper, and they get keys to the game on paper. So they get 3 or 4 keys, and they get all the personnel on a piece of paper. As far as what we give them on video, the very first time we just kind of introduce them and give them the very basics of what they're going to see. Like if it's something like, for example, a team that presses, we make sure they presses. If it's a team that's like a heavy Princeton team, we make sure like, hey, they run some Princeton. We'll do that while we show them personnel that very first time. And then we'll come back and keep adding stuff as the week go along. So the next time we'll show their sets. And then the last time we kind of combine it. It'll be a little shorter, a little personnel, a little bit of their sets, a little bit of defense, and then we'll finish up with their special stuff, the out of bounds, out of bounds, things of that nature. We play a little different for college basketball. I know you may be aware, but we're a pressing team. We like to press, and we're a deny team. So we know that we don't have to cover everybody's sets, because we try to take people out of their sets. So we try to cover the stuff that we think they're going to run against us. With us being in the passing lanes, pressuring the ball, we know we got to cover their backdoor plays, because everybody going to try backdoors because we're not. We know we try to figure out how they're going to attack our press. Some coaches try to score on it quickly. Some guys try to break it and pull it out. And we try to figure out what the quick hitters are, because we know with the way our presses run, we usually eat clock in them. So usually they got 20 seconds in their shot clock before they get into the action. So we try to figure out the quick stuff. If it's a play that got 3 or 4 reversals or a couple of reversals, we know they ain't going to run that against us, because
you're going to blow it up.
we would blow it up before we get there. So we try to figure out the stuff that happens quick. And that's the stuff that we give the kids. We would give the kids a couple of plays no matter what. ETSU, kind of like Florida State, for example, we had a tournament. They don't run a lot of plays, but we feel like it's important to give our guys something. So we'll do our darndest to find a couple of actions to get our guys' heads around, just to make sure they focus and locked in on that team. And then we'll cover all their ball screen, how they like to run ball screens, or like what they like to look for in their ball screens, because every coach is different. Some guys like to throw the pocket pass. Some guys like to shirt them a lot. Some guys, the ball handler, come off looking to score. So we try to give them the basics of what they're going to see in ball screens.
Right. Do you have uh, like a mirror team is what I would call it. So, I mean, if you guys press a lot, like you're saying, would you look for a particular team that also presses a lot and see if they've played ETSU previously to sort of see how they're breaking the press or see how they're handling a lot of pressure in the half court? Do you utilize that style at all in terms of figuring things out?
Yes, sir. We'll watch every and again, college basketball with synergy now. You can see everybody. And we kind of have an idea who runs our press anyway now. We're
Right.
kind of getting popular, so we know who those guys are. So unfortunately for us, nobody in the league press, so it's hard to get footage of people playing against the press in our league. The new guy at Sanford started pressing this year, so that helped us a little bit because we got to see how people attacked him. VMI run a version of our press, but it's not as aggressive. 1-2-2 that we run, so we'll watch how they attack them. But
Right.
what makes us a little different is like not only do we press, once we get in the court, we banging stuff up. And there's not a lot of people that play that way. So it's typically not a lot of live film. So we'll go back in the guy's history a lot of times. So if it's a new coach in our league, we'll try to watch some of this stuff from previous years.
Right.
This is a new coach, it's a first time head coach. We'll go watch his old boss, how they attack the press. So like the new guy Mercer, we didn't know how he would attack it. So we try to watch Purdue or wherever he came from stuff.
Right.
So just
Excuse me. So in terms of matchups and depth charts and all that, being a pressing team, does this have less importance to you than maybe other spots you might have been at because anybody could sort of end up anywhere? And then if that is true, how do you guys handle screen coverages or like how do you decide what part of the action you want to blow up if you're not doing that sort of thing?
yeah, I'll be honest, I think it's more important for us because
Interesting.
we're cross matched so much.
Right.
Our bigs be on their guards and our guards be on their bigs. So our guys almost got to know their entire roster. Now we quiz them, and when we quiz them, we don't. You ain't got to know everything about each post player if you're a guard, but you need to kind of know the key. You need to know, hey, this guy's a shooter or this guy's a driver in case you get matched up to them. Now we mandate they got to know the guys in their skill group. So all the guards got to know all the guards, all the forwards got to know all the forwards.
Right.
But we like for the guards to know at least something about the forwards, like know that hey, this guy can shoot, hey, this guy gonna be rolling. Know just the basics of them. We don't make them like study them. Then beyond that, it's really up to our guys. We have guys that's junkies who like to watch every clip that we have of each guy,
Love it.
and we have some guys that just to watch what we show them. So that's all individualized based on the person, how much they can absorb.
So then as a staff, how do you guys handle screen coverages? Do you let your players dictate? Do you let the particular matchups at certain points in game dictate? Or do you play like a standardized coverage and other than a scout specific thing, you're always in your standardized coverage?
Yeah, we play a standard coverage. We actually changed from last year to this year. We went down to ice coverage or a down, and I don't know what your terminology is, coverage this year, and that was for everybody. The way we kind of mixed it up is that some people ice the switch sometimes, and some
Right.
just play straight ice, and that was all based on our personnel of us. It didn't matter who you were, um, and that was based on who you were in the screen. Like if this guy was a pick and pop, and we'll tell, hey, boss, you're in the ice to switch this game, this whole game, and Big Mo, you might gonna be in all ice, and this guy might be in straight switch. So we have different coverages. Our personnel have different coverages, not our team. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah. And then what about style of play in terms of things like the pace that you wanted to play at or how many you're sending to the glass? Do you change those particular things for individual matchups or are you like we're gonna do what we do and we want the other team to be dictated to by us?
Yeah, we do it that way. We actually we want tempo up. We played 10, 11 guys naturally, some games 12. We script our rotations in the first half. So we know the 10 guys is going in. We know when they're going in, unless it's foul trouble or injury. And we do that by design. And the whole purpose is to wear you down and try to break you in the last 2 media timeouts.
Right.
So, we're gonna play our way. We're gonna pressure regardless of who you are. We don't care if it's a Division III school or Duke. We're gonna run our presses. We're gonna pressure you. We're gonna try to bang your stuff up.
Right.
So we won't change regardless of who you are. And the same thing with our board coverages. We don't have traditional board coverages. I would say we have it's all personnel specific. We have board guys and circle guys. And no matter who you are, if you're a board guy, you go to the boards. If you're a circle guy, you're getting back. We typically like to have at least 3 board guys in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Last year's team, the last few years' team is kind of unique because our point guard was a board guy. So we, in theory, have so we had 5 guys that was supposed to go to the board, but
right.
The whispered, hey man, like if Zay's in there, make sure you sneak back a little bit. And I got to get a feel for it. They kind of know who they're in the game with after a while.
Yeah, Isaiah is a bit of a monster. You and I spoke about him a little bit, but the athleticism is for sure off the charts. I like what you said about scripting rotations. I don't find very many coaches that I've spoken to are doing that in college. Could you elaborate a little bit on that in terms of what you're doing in the second half then? Is it all sort of by feel, by look as to what's happened in the first half?
The second half is a lot of feel. And some guys we know going into the game won't play but 1 or 2 rotations. They may all their time gonna come in the first half, and regardless of what they do in those rotations, unless something crazy happened, they won't play in the second half. And we know that a lot of times going into the game. We try to cut it down to 9, 10 guys maybe in the second half. But one thing coach really believes in is like developing our young guys.
Right.
We try to get our young guys at least a rotation or 2 each game, so they get some experience getting in the game and getting to the flow.
Love it.
Like I said, we have still played quite a few guys, I think. But most people like it, but it's not as scripted. It's not like, hey, at the 12-minute mark, this guy going in, at the 10-minute mark, this guy going in. It's not scripted, but it's more of a feel. But we know who's going to play in the second half.
So in the first half, when you are scripting things, do you then in your mind have to like work out what coverages you're playing based upon who's going into the game at those particular times?
Oh, that's done way before the game.
Yeah.
They know when we prepare for our opponent 2 or 3 days out, whatever, they will get their ball screen assignment then. And when we drill it and break it down, they would practice what their coverage are going to be going into the game.
Right.
It's rare. It has happened. It's rare for us to switch a coverage during the course of the game. Like if you're a straight ice guy, we ain't gonna make you go from straight ice into the switching typically. But we have done that because we had a couple of games where our ice guy was getting banged, picked and popped a lot. So we had to say, hey man, you need to start switching this. But we spend a lot of time beforehand discussing what coverage each guy gonna play. So they get a couple of days to work on it and get comfortable with it.
Love it. So my next question is I'm losing my train of thought a little bit today. Going from the general to the specific. I mean, you played these guys twice in the year. You split games with them. You played them. They were the last game before the tournament. What did you really decide specifically you wanted to attack? What were the matchups you wanted to go at? What were the keys to the game for you? All those fun sort of things.
Yeah, I kicked myself because it was my scout, of course, the whole time. And we opened our conference season with them and we finished the conference. So we had a big gap in between.
Right.
And our roster, although it was a little older, we had a lot of guys in different roles this year than they've been in previously. And I thought the first mistake I made in my first scout that I didn't make, that I had to make the adjustment for the second scout was, it wasn't the X and the O's part. It was the preparation for the type of game it was about to be. And I used the word nasty the whole while we was preparing for the second game. Like the ETSU game is like, it's not about knowing they plays. It's not about, you just got to prepare for the nastiness of this game. They're going to talk crap. They're going to go to the board. They're going to, they're going to take tough shots and let you know about. Like my whole thing the second time was just making sure the guys understand that this is going to be a nasty game. The kids still, they run around, they say, like I said like 1,000 times now. We like like Johnson City is a nasty city. Like there's gonna be some nasty fans up there. Like these guys gonna talk. So I kept like, the whole thing was, and I'm laughing and doing it now, but I try to like, I was dead seriously, guys. Like, you gotta prepare for how nasty this game gonna be. You gotta get ready. Like if you don't like it, I was like, if you don't like it nasty, don't even come. So
Right.
you know,
Right.
each time during the timeouts and stuff, I would reference it. When our guys would make like a loose ball play or something, they're like, go to nasty, like so.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing with TSU, just getting ready for what kind of game it was. But the second part is, of course, is their ball screen stuff because they was one of the more talented teams in our league. Their plays is not what made them good. They had a really good dynamic point guard and ball screen, so we could find some elite shooters for them. So we had to wrap their mind around their ball screen coverage is going to have to be great. Because where they coach, like there was a team that didn't attack our press, and we knew that just on history of their coach. They was going to beat our press and just hold the ball and then get into a ball screen. And we knew that. So that's what we had to get guys around like, hey, this team is not going to be running the ball at you, only on loose ball turnovers, things of that nature. But once they beat our press, now we got to be great in our ball screen coverages. And we knew that the second part of it was they have some really, really good shooters. And they was big and they had guys that could really shoot the ball, but they didn't like when they was uncomfortable. And so that made the second theme of it was like, hey, we gotta make these dudes uncomfortable. Like they can't be comfortable. We gotta get this stuff. We gotta make these dudes bounce it. Even though they're big and they're skilled and they can bounce it, but we gotta make them uncomfortable. We gotta get in this stuff and make them uncomfortable. And again, the whole thing was, hey, make this thing nasty, let's make them uncomfortable. We numbers on our side, we're gonna get in their crap, we're gonna get up in them, and we're gonna make them feel us all night. So that was more the actual X and O's and stuff.
So moving into the game, I got a couple questions about being in the game. Sometimes I found that assistant coaches can be competitive with each other. Like, hey, I didn't lose a scout this year. You lost 2 or 3. What are you tracking? What are you watching when it's your scout? And does that differentiate when it's not your scout and it's a different game? And then specifically in this game, what were you looking for, having played them twice before during the year? Were there certain things that it was like, if I key in on this, I could steal a possession or two from my guys, so to speak?
It's with ETSU in particular, and the way our staff is designed, Wes Miller does a great job of giving us all responsibilities during the game. Our in-game responsibilities don't change. So if it's my scout, your scout, whatever, the only thing that changes is like making sure my matchups is right, and then watching the special situations real closely for ETSU anyway. That was the 2 biggest things for that game. I wanted to make sure we have a couple of guys that's like magnets for buckets. So make sure we kept them away from their shooters. And then we wanted certain guys guarding the ball screen as much as we could. So I tried to make sure we had the right matchups for the way we need to play ball screens in that game. So that was a lot of things I watched on the up and down. Out of bounds underneath, how they played out of bounds underneath defense, because they run a diamond sometimes, and then sometimes let's play straight man.
Right.
Which one they ran, I had to try to pick up as quickly as possible because that dictated what we was calling offensively. So that was really important to watch. But that was the main thing was just watching those matchups. I'm the guy on our staff who helped coach change defenses. So that's something I have to watch regardless of the game. Suggest that you need to go to zone or suggest.
Sorry, Gray. Are you doing that by feel, or are you actually like writing down?
I do it by feel. I know he's had guys here before who charted when we played man, they got stopped. We got play zone, we got stopped. I didn't try. I did it kind of more by feel. If guys got comfortable in one of our presses, I go up and suggest, hey, let's go to what we call point, the 1-2-2, or we might need run possession zone. And then coach got a really good feel for it too. Like he actually went zone in that game, like on his own, on the fly. He went to a 2-3 zone, a couple of possessions. So that was cool. But then we have guys like we have a guy on our bench he's the guy that got the script of the subs.
Right.
It's funny because he hates it when his scout, because he don't get to watch the game much because he's looking at the sheet of paper. Like, all right,
yeah. For sure.
And then we have somebody who watches for deflections and what we call Uncg deflections, which is charges and loose balls and blocks and things like that. So everybody on our staff have a job.
Right.
In the game.
So with all those jobs, let's say in this particular game at the half, you're up one, you make I have the clip, we'll talk about it a little bit, but you make a massive three to go up one at the half. With the combination of what you guys are charting and the box score, what are you saying to your guys at this half? Like, does your staff come together, speak first, and then somebody speaks? Is it always the person who scouted is, or is it always Wes? Like, how does half work for you guys?
We actually come together and everybody kind of talks on what their responsibility was. On that game in particular, we actually felt pretty good going into halftime. We thought in the first time we played them again, they punked us a little bit.
Right.
So we knew our guys came for the fight when we was in Johnson City. So that was number one, make sure we got to the fight. We thought the guys were doing a great job of executing our ball screen coverages.
Right.
Even though they made some plays. And one of our big guys was a little too far back on the ice coverage. We was able to make the adjustment, getting them up a little bit, being more aggressive. But that was the main thing. We felt pretty good going into the second half of where we were. And then we knew like they don't play but 6-7 guys. And so we knew down the stretch, or we felt down the stretch, we'd be able to get them without depth.
Love it. This is moving back to general a little bit, I suppose, as opposed to specific to the game. But for you, when you want to make adjustments, do you typically only do them, say, like at medias or halftime or that kind of thing? Or are you more keen on doing them on the fly during the game, so to speak?
Again, we spend so much time in preparation. We have some subtle adjustments that we have made, but we typically don't make big adjustments during the course of the game. We may change defenses from time to time or throughout the game, but we won't really want to change our post defense coverage. We really want to change our ball screen coverage. We may play different people, like
Right.
we might play our switch guy a little bit more rather than our ice guy, things of that nature. But we won't make like a drastic, like we ain't gonna go from down in the ball screen to hedge in the ball screen or trapping the ball screen. We're not gonna make that kind of adjustment during the game.
Like it.
But we'll make those things.
They say, looking back is 2020, hindsight's 2020. Looking at your scout, it's the third one you did of them for the year. What, if anything, would you say was missing this time around? What would you add or subtract in terms of what you delivered to the guys? Or are you pretty much overall happy with this? I mean, obviously you got the W, you moved on to the tournament, and all that is great. But what was in there that you were like, maybe should add this, or maybe should have taken that out, didn't need it?
The third time we played them, the thing that I felt bad, I thought I did a good job making the adjustment on the ball screen. And the biggest thing was just our ice guys to get up, like not let the point guard come off so clean and so comfortable.
Right.
We made the adjustment as the game went on. Should have got those guys up there a little bit quicker and made that more of an emphasis in practice, because we did practice it, but for some reason our center guys just slow start covering that way. But other than that, I thought we game planned them well. I really did. I was surprised they didn't run the diamond out of bounds against us at all. We spent so much time on that.
Right.
But other than that, I thought we game planned them well.
And then going away from the typical format of run it back, can you explain a little bit to, like, you guys were you basically in a bubble for this as well?
We were just in the hotel. So it wasn't a bubble. It was other teams in there, and we was able to leave, but we couldn't. Wasn't supposed to meet with our family members, things like that.
Right.
Right. So it wasn't actually that bad. We did 2 bubbles during the year. We did the Louisville one to start the season, and of course the one at the tournament. Those was bubbles. Like you couldn't have contact with anybody really. So, but actually it wasn't that bad. We were just there for a couple of days.
So for anybody who doesn't know, what, if any, impact do you think, COVID and all the preparation and all the testing and all, like, what do you think that did in terms of, your time to prep, your ability to prep, there were games during the season, obviously, that were added, subtracted, so to speak. So how did that influence the way that you were prepping for games, et cetera?
What happened with us, again, I tip my hat to Wes Miller. Like, we always emphasize to our guys to be everyday guys. And it's something that we talk about every day in our program. It's something that's one of our standards or pillars. Like, we're everyday guys, and we don't care what the circumstances are. We're going to compete to our best of our ability. So if it means that we're supposed to have played on Monday and game got canceled and we got to go practice instead, hey, we're going to go get better today. If it means that it's Monday and we got a game on the schedule now for Tuesday when there wasn't one there, hey, we're everyday guys. We don't care. We're going to try to get better no matter what the circumstances are. And that's the way we prepare anyway. So for us, it really didn't make any difference to our kids. And we call them parking lot guys when we recruit them. Like, we don't care if it's 5 people in the stands or 5,000 people in the stands. Like, we'll play in the parking lot if nobody was there.
Right.
We use that term a lot in our program. So we kind of, because the reality is some games in our conference are parking lot games. You know, like you go on the road to VMI, there might be 50 people in the gym. You go on the road to Citadel, there might be 50 people in the gym. So we always try to get their kids to still like, hey, it's about the grounds. Every day we parking lot dudes. We don't care. Like, if they say we got to play back-to-back nights, hey, we don't care. Like, if you say we got to play 3 days in a row, we don't care. We parking lot dudes. We're going to play anyway.
I love it. I love it. I love the mentality. We're not ducking anybody. We're here to play. We don't care what the venue is. Let's get going.
And it kind of helped us, to be honest. It's the reason technically we won the league. We was the only conference. We was the only team in our conference that played every conference game.
Right.
Winning the regular season based on percentages. It was because we played all 18 of our games. And early in the season, we had a situation with Sanford where we needed the game. They needed the game. They didn't want to travel to us for home and home. So we said, forget it. We'd just go play you guys back to back. And we found that out like 2 days before. It drove me crazy because I had the scout. And it was like the first time we played them, a new coach. So I actually had to leave out the office. I coach, man, you ain't gonna see me the rest of the day. I gotta go lock myself in. I gotta get my Sanford stuff done.
Right.
We on Tuesday, we decided we're gonna play Sanford back to back on Thursday and Friday. And they wound up helping us. We played them back to back nights at Sanford, or we wound up sweeping them. And again, that's the difference in us winning and losing the conference. So
how long will a scout take you, Dre? You're the first person I've heard say, I like to watch all of their games. So at this point, you guys are 18, 19 games in.
Well, by the time you get to the second time, you already watched their stuff
right
when you played them the first time. So it sounds like, wow. So you're watching. ETSU was a little bit different because the second time we played the first game and we was playing the second game. So I had to watch a lot of conference games in between once I got done with my scout. But it kind of, usually I can get through all that stuff in about a week and a half. I'll start watching teams a little early just to peek at them, get a feel for their personnel. And then the other thing I like to do personally is I'll watch all their made baskets. After this is after I've done all my preparation and presented the coach and stuff. I watch all the personnel made baskets, every shot they made, and I do more to help the kids, like because you'll pick up a tendency. This guy like to go right to left crossover at the elbow, and this kid can't really go. Every time he scores, is with his right hand at the basket. But that's something I like to do more for myself. But usually I can get that stuff done in about a week and a half. So I get a little stressed out sometimes because again, like I said, I like to cut my own film too. So it kind of bogs my mind down, but I ain't that bad. I ain't got no hobby, so.
Yeah, well, I prefer it as well, and it's funny to me that some coaches, a lot of coaches don't like to do that because to me it just makes me feel more involved with the game and gives me a better understanding of what they're trying to do, and I can find little intricacies that I wouldn't find if I wasn't doing it. So I commend you for it. I think we're a dying breed though in terms of the guys that do it for sure. If anybody has any questions, not employment related, please and thank you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free. If not, I'm going to jump into a bit of film with Coach Gray at this point. Awesome. Let's go there. And then, are we good size wise there, or do you need this bigger?
I can see it.
Let me see if I can bring it down. So we got about 17 clips from the game. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. It's giving me trouble for some reason. All right, so here's an easy one. I ask this guy every week. This is, beginning of the game. They missed their first shot. You guys come on down and transition 3 to start. So at Uncg, transition 3s, yay or nay, personnel based. How does that work in terms of what you guys want to do?
That's all personnel based. about 2 guys on our roster that's allowed to take pitch ahead threes, and that kid that took that one is one of them. Again, we as well as we identify what our roles are as a staff, we also as we do the same thing with our roster. So our guys know what shots they can and can't take. We actually chart them during the game, and we call them A, B, and C shots.
Okay.
An A shot is a horse shot, like a horse. That kid could take pitch ahead threes, an inside out three, an angle shot, the basket is an A shot. A B shot, usually a shot that you can make, but maybe if we worked a little bit harder, we could get a better shot. And then a C shot is the one we don't want you taking at all. But for Angelo, that's an A shot for him. We thought he was one of the guys that could take pitch ahead threes for. So
Nice. So I like the clear definition of roles. What happens if somebody steps outside of their role? What happens if one of your better players takes a C shot? What happens if one of your deeper rotation players takes a C shot? How does this differentiate, if at all?
now we won't. One thing that I love about Wes, during the game, we won't pull a guy for that. And during the game, his philosophy, and I agree with it. Guys don't play to their potential when they look over their shoulder when they're thinking.
Right. I agree with that too, actually.
So we won't bother them, but we do so much during the preseason and before we get to the games of identifying what shots they can and can't take. So by the time we get to the game, like I said, they rarely come out of character. Now, again, Isaiah Miller, he's a different animal. He took some C shots, just to be totally frank. But for the most part, our guys kind of bought into their roles and what they couldn't do. Because they don't do it as selfishness. They just does it out of competitiveness. He really make all those shots. So.
And then how do you define, like you said, you have 2 or 3 guys that can shoot the pitch ahead three.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define that? Is there like a certain sample size that you're utilizing from practice? Do certain guys move into that throughout the season based on things they do performance wise? How do you get the green light on Coach Miller and Coach Gray's staff?
We do have a shooting board that the guys got to pass before the season.
I love it.
And that's how they come into practice to be able to get the green light or not. But then it's just a sample size as practice start going on. You figure out some guys not great drill shooters, but better game shooters.
Right.
So have moved that thing around a little bit. And like I said, Isaiah Miller was a guy that kind of made his own rules. But on that clip, you also kind of can see how board coverage rules. You see as it runs, Jello gets the pitch ahead. And you see on his shot, you see Zay and Mo, the big kid, number 4, number 1, and Caleb Hunter, 44, all board guys. And you see as the shot go up, all of them going towards the board. You see Keyshawn, number 0 is our circle guy. You see how he's running back towards half court.
Yep, I do see that, yeah. He's also signaling that that's in already. He knows. All right, this is a defending with the hedge type clip. I think what I was interested in was that you guys weren't really tagging, so it's a short clip, but I mean, basically, for anybody who's listening in, the ball's at the point. They're sending the guy to his left. There's a bit of a show or a hedge there, and there's no tag on the roll down. And I'm just wondering if you guys are a play the ball screen with 2 team, what are your teaching principles on this hedge? And I also find it interesting that it's a hedge and under instead of a hedge and over. And does that have to do with the no tagging?
Oh, if you watch this with our staff, this is actually what we call a defensive bad grade when we grade our film. The guard that actually played this ball screen absolutely wrong. He should never go under in the situation. He got fired at the top.
Right.
One thing we did try to do with this kid Sloan with the ball, because he is a capable shooter behind the ball screen. He doesn't take a lot. We try to emphasize that he's a really good fan-it passer. So we actually told our shooters to stay home a little bit more on him. He wasn't a traditionally pocket passer. But a lot of this, if the boy on the ball, which is Key Langley, if he had played the ball screen right, he would have been fighting over the top and hopefully would have took away that little drop-off pass. But this is a little action they actually ran at us. You see the kind of back screen in his backside. And I think our forward, it should have been Angelo Allegri, number 13 in the basket. And this actually, it would have been his tag. But he's one of our guys not super aware. But if we grade this game, after the game, when we graded it, Keyshawn Langley would have got a bad for defense. Mo would have got good because the big kid at the point of the screen. And we probably gave them a 13 a bad for not seeing the tag. So this is like a terrible clip. They did a bad job. Even number 44, if you rewind it, let me make sure. Let it play. Let it play again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, even number 44, they gave a bad because he didn't choke the ball screen coming at him.
So let me ask you a little bit about that grading and the post game breakdown and all that. Would you still be doing that come tournament, come SoCon tournament time? And do you guys only do that post game breakdown among your staff, or do you give that feedback to the guys, share it for the whole group, so to speak?
Yeah, during the tournament, we don't grade it as sharply. Now we watch it and we won't. But during the regular season, we grade them right after the games as a staff with our GAs, and we'll have their grades for them the next day. So they know their grades, and we'll grade everything from their effort to the boards, how they play the ball screens, all 5 guys. We'll grade how they run the floor offensively, whether or not they execute the play offensively. We'll tell them how many A, B, to C shots they took. We scout who's generating plays, like we call them SGPs, because everybody talk about assists, but we figure out who starts their defense into rotation. We grade that. Of course, we do assists like everybody else, but we give guys half an assist for making the right play, even if the guy don't finish it. We get half an assist for post feeds. We get half an assist for like getting the paint touch, kicking it out to a wide open shooter. So we upgrade all that stuff during the
Sorry, Drake, could you elaborate a little bit on the SGPs again? Because you mentioned that to me when we were one time before, but I think that one's a good one that's worth mentioning.
Foreign generated plays.
Yeah.
So it's a way for us. We try to find a way to get value to guys that create rotation for the defense, because as you know, playing against college, you're going to get the best way to score against college defenses is by getting people in rotation. We try to encourage our guys to try to make plays for elders, and you don't have to be the guy that makes the finishing play. So the scoring generated plays is like in the ball screen, coming off, getting somebody to tag, and then fanning it to the right play. Because usually now you got a team in a long closeout, now a guy could attack a closeout or whatever. So we try to reward as much as we can. And we call it scoring generated plays. Like for example, when a big guy's rim run, they run hard and hold their seal, and the guard come in the lane and get a layup. They don't get a stat for that in the stat sheet, but by him running the floor hard and holding this guy off, we reward him by giving him an SGP.
Yeah, so I love it, and that's why I asked you to mention it, because when you mentioned it to me before, when we were talking about Isaiah that one time, I thought that's fabulous. I mean, we talk about hockey assists sometimes or whatever, but how many times does a guy break a guy down, get in the paint, fan it out to where it's supposed to go, and then that guy misses the shot? And that doesn't go on a score sheet, but it's like, I want the guy that can do that repeated times in a game, and then I want to figure out what I need to do with the guy who's missing the shot. But like, that guy still has a lot of importance to us for sure.
Yes, sir. Yep. Gotta create rotations. It's just as important as the guy who make the final shot.
Love it. And then one thing just before I move on, this might be kind of a topical question, but what are you guys trying to eliminate with the high hedge or the shock? What are you looking at on teams that you're like, hey, we need to drive that guard up the floor? Is it that he's a scoring guard? Is it that he's a good passing guard? Are you trying to buy time for your bigs? What makes you look at a team and go, we're going to shock them or high hedge them, whatever you want to call it?
We thought this kid Sloan, and this is our soft coverage. This is actually our soft coverage, but that was a flat hedge in the middle. But like I said, the guard played it wrong by going under. We know Sloan and watching him on film. Like right now, he got way too much space for him.
Right.
We wanted to make him more uncomfortable. Again, we noticed that he's not a really good, even though he's one of our better assist guys in our league. Most of his assists came off the fan outs to the shooters. He's not a really good pocket passer. So we wanted to play more aggressive with him in the middle third ball screens to kind of make him feel us again, because we knew he wasn't a great guy at hitting the pocket. So that was the whole coverage with him in the middle third.
Like it. So we've got a full court play here. You guys show a little bit of pressure here, but you're just kind of backing up. So walk me through this in terms of why it's just kind of a slowdown as opposed to an aggressive type one. And then this play also develops into, if I remember correctly, what looks like you're going to ice the ball screen. And then again, no tag, he slips out, gets to the rim. Obviously, it's a bit of a breakdown there. So walk me through the whole play if you don't mind. I'll start it from the beginning. And sorry, Dre, give me 1 second just for anybody who's listening. Basically, it's just like a 2-2-1, but for show more than anything. They get the ball in the center of the floor, and UNCG backs it up, and then the ball ends up in the right slot. And when the ball ends up in the right slot, there is a ball screen that comes. He slips out of it and gets all the way to the rim for the layup. All you, sir, please.
Okay, and this is one of our press. This is actually our 2-2-1 press. Again, we knew going into the game, they bring their 5-man up to start their press. And every press is designed for different reasons. And everybody think when you start pressing, you're doing it for people that turn the ball over. And again, when we talk to it with our guys, it's not about the turnover per se. Now, of course, if the ball handler was to take off with it, we have different calls what we would do to him if the guy was to take off with the ball. Well, in this case, we knew that they press with the 5. And if you pause it, this time it was designed for, you see what the shot clock is at?
Yeah, 17 here, yeah.
Yeah, this is a win for us. Now they got 17 seconds to get into the offense. And now we don't have to have our defense in rotation for long. So that press in our mind, it worked the way we wanted it to work. Now they get 17 seconds instead of 31 seconds because, again, their coach is really good at seeing offense. And Coach Shea is really, really good at diagramming plays. He's a really good offensive mind. But this is the way to kind of take him out of the game. He can't tell these guys what to do with the ball because he ain't got the 15 seconds. So we knew at this point it's going to come down to our ball screen coverages. And again, you know a bad clip as it goes on.
Let me just go back. I wanted to say something about the win for you at the 17 seconds that I found pretty interesting. Like we play 24-second shot clock, right? And we have an 8-second in the back. And the way that they get this ball up the floor, if you actually watch it, for us, this would be a turnover because right here is your 8-second count and they're still in the backcourt. So just like you said, in terms of pressing for time and slowing them down, if they were to do this to us, basically anywhere in the world except for United States college, this is a turnover. They're just taking their time getting over. But as you said, you wanted to advance the clip a bit and go into here. So as the ball screen comes.
Now, if that was like a ball handler in the middle of that press, our second line of our 2-2-1 would be a little bit more aggressive, discouraging that from going in there.
Right.
Once we got to the ball screen, again, this is a terrible job of our guys. I think Maurice get caught a little bit too high this time in his ice. His rule, I'm sure all you guys coach ice coverage before. This is all on the big guy. This is not a tag responsibility the way we teach this ball screen coverage. The post guy can't get lower than the ice guy.
Right.
Our number 4 just got a little too aggressive with the ball in the situation. Jumping up there. That was actually his coverage. We wouldn't have pulled our wings to come cover that. That's on the big man, being at the level of offensive.
So that's interesting. Basically, the way I would view that then is that you teach your ice very similar to the way that you would teach a drop coverage, so to speak, in that the roller can never get below the big man. And you would prefer to play this only with 2 and never have to tag on it.
Yeah, he might have got killed in the ball screen earlier by being too soft and somebody might have snaked him. So we might have made him adjust too much. And so that it might be for some of us and some of him, but that should never happen on that slip if he's playing his coverage correctly. So we wouldn't have tagged like that.
This is a defending clip. This is a multiple side one with a few not complex, but a few actions in there that are pretty interesting. Ball gets sprayed to the other side. For anybody who's listening, I'm going to try to go through this again. So basically the ball starts in the point and there's a ball screen, moves to the left slot. I would almost call this like a ram or a wedge screen to try and bring the ball screen up. But he slips out of it. There's no contact on it. Again, the ball gets swung to the other side. Swung to the point. And then the screen comes from the other side off of a pin down into it. So if you wanted to call it like another ram screen on the other side of the floor, they're attacking a ball screen in the center of the floor. He basically would have snaked if your ball defender had stayed with. And then you end up with a low tag, and he makes the correct play, second side. Where's the breakdown? How would you ideally like to play it? What could you do better on it? It's a complex action, in my opinion, where there's a lot of things going on.
Yes, sir. And I remember this play during the game, and I bet you money this is after a timeout. This is where Jason Shea is really, really good. He's a really good ATO guy. So after timeouts, he really gives those guys different actions. We would never have covered this as a team to prepare for him because, again, people don't usually get to second and third actions on this.
Right.
The biggest problem was on this if we let it play to the last ball screen.
Right.
If we knew this was coming, we would have tried to blow up that first one. Rewind it a little bit.
So right when he catches it?
I mean, rewind it to where they catch on the wing. The very first ball screen.
The first one, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So here's your first one.
We would try to keep this one on the side. We probably would have played the ice coverage with KT, the kid with the headband coming out to guard them.
Right.
Probably keep that one on the side where they couldn't get to the second one. But since they did, when they come up to the middle third ball screen, this post just got to get up there. And it's a really good play at the end where they're screening into the ball screen. So
yeah.
Our big man got hung up. But that would have been something if we were prepared for. We would have drilled it to make sure those guys are aware. It's like the little hook action that VCU used to run. And Will Wade run. A lot of those old VCU guys run that hook. And I think Rhodes run a little bit now. I'm talking about the last little screen, it's a ball screen action.
Right.
That hook is really hard to guard because you got to make your post aware that they got to defeat that pin in to get ready to play the ball screen. But
how would you have them defeat that? Would they be coming on the center side of the floor, or would they be locking and trailing over?
When we talk to our guys about defeat, we don't tell them how. We don't tell them like, hey, you just got to get through it. You just got to get through it. You got to be up there on that ball screen. But again, typically, if we were game plan that play, we probably would have tried to everything we could to keep that thing on one side of the floor
and blow up the secondary action. I like it.
It's hard to, and this is something that we have to get our kids' minds around all the time, especially with Jason Shea, is that he's a board guy. He's a guy that like to draw stuff. So you're gonna see stuff that that nobody's seen. Like he's coming up with it.
Right.
Something that he did to take advantage of ice. And that little hook action is always really good against any ball screen, really, because the guys responsible for playing the ball screen is always going to be late if they don't know that screen is happening. So it was a great design by him, and it worked to perfection. I'm sure his kid probably pointed at the bench after he made the shot. I know,
right?
He's like, hey, look at this.
Do you? Is that one that you just basically tip your hat, and move on, and
you can't think about what's in his mind because again, he's a really, really good board guy.
Love it.
Really good board guy. So I was a little surprised probably that he picked Brewer in that ball screen.
Right.
Usually it's the kid Sloan coming off of him. So it was a really good job of him of designing something for 25 to use the ball screen instead of Sloan. So I tip my hat.
He makes a great pass in my opinion there too. So.
Yeah, he does.
This is one of your actions that I like for anybody who's listening. The ball starts at the point. We have to talk about this formation a little bit. There's one more play later on that you guys get into it, but you guys do like a 3 across with a guy who's almost Spain screening at the top where he's facing the rim. But you get a pin down on one side, and then it turns almost into like a blocker mover type idea with the wheel cuts, and you get them off of the flare, lob to the rim. Take me through it. Is it a play call? Do you use it often? Exactly how you drew it up. This is one I would tip my hat at.
This is actually all, this is read for our kids. The way they come in on the floor, if you pause it to the very beginning, I'm sorry.
That's all, no problem.
Right here, fine. This is our secondary alignment. We have a rim runner. We have a guy in the trail spot, and we run 2 guys to the wing. So this is where we come down the floor every time. That's one of the wings took off with it. We call this what they are now middle break. So the rim runner is going to be trying to, of course, get an easy basket or steal his guy at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
The trail guy is what we call traffic. So the point guard could play off him. He could play behind him or in front of him. And he got the option to go and leave away off of that. And then of course the trail guy, if that's somebody that can shoot, they're able to play off the pitch back from the guard.
Which he can. He made a couple of great ones in this game for sure.
Yeah. And then what happens is this is supposed to be a read for us if we keep on going. Every time we run middle break, if he can make this pass to the trail guy, he's supposed to make it unless we call it. Now, keep on going to the point where I come off. If he can make the pass back to the 7-footer now, he's supposed to make it, and then that's get us just into our secondary.
Right.
But sometimes we know we could take advantage of this case. I think it's Monsanto, their wing that's guarding our white kid coming out the corner. We know he's a ball watcher, so we wanted to try to put him as much action as we could. So this is our away set, and that's when we send the trail guy away to go pin away for him.
Mm-hmm.
We knew he's a lazy defender, so we wanted to run this at him when we got him in situations to have to defend it. So this was actually by design. Normally this would be a read for our kids. And then, like you said, it looks like blocker mover, but our guys know where the ball is going. We don't ask our guards to have to read both sides of it. So we have a call for we want to run, look at the high, and we have a call we want to look at the low.
Right.
So we don't make them have to read like, hey, this guy open, that guy open. So in this case, his read was to this high side, which was the flare or lob. He throws
all alone, just beautiful, and you can see the guy on the bench for the other team, just like, oh man.
Yeah, that's the kid we were trying to pick on in this game. We know he's not a really good defender. He really shoots the ball, but he don't like the guard. He can guard on the ball, but he's terrible off the ball. So,
we got another defending clip here. The screen is kind of set with no angle, attacking from the right slot. And then you guys completely collapse where you have pretty much all five guys going to it. He makes a pretty good pass to the second side. They knock down the three. They missed the three in this particular one, but talk to me about like your help concepts. Who over helped? What would you want to do? How did you want to play it initially?
Yeah, what happens is where the ball starts at, is start at the very beginning. We're a deny team, but we don't deny this far out. But we do pressure that far out because the way we press, our guys always pick up the ball down the floor. We have a line or an area where we try to play our ball screens in. So right now, our big guy probably screwed this call up. I'm guessing based on the movement, he probably called it drop coverage. And then he moved to the ice. So our guard is reacting to a drop coverage. That's why he's ball back towards the screen. But then our big is actually coming over the ice down it. So there's a breakdown of communication right here at the beginning. So somebody screwed up, either the guard didn't listen or the big man said their own thing. So once the guard hits it, the post guy's rule would have been to shade this himself. It gets this kid Sloan because we don't want him fanning, because we talked about a little bit earlier. He's a good fan passer. We would have had guys just bluffing at this ball from that wing and from that corner. But this is, again, probably the guys, because I had them all juiced up about being tough and about the nastiness of this game. And this is our guys making plays. And we're never going to punish our guys for making this play because they're trying to put their chest on that drive. They're trying to take a charge on it, put their chest on it. So we wouldn't get on them at all about trying to make this play. Like they won in that situation, but it looked like a breakdown of communication at the ball screen.
So with this, I'm going to use the annotate a little bit here. When both of these guys then have screwed up, so to speak, and he's attacking, where would you typically help from if it was ideal and you were only helping with one instead of everybody going to the ball?
The help came off this guy, Theory. The one I got there.
Down here?
No, here. You can't see my arrow?
No, I can't see your arrow. So this guy here?
No, the guy on the same side of the ball screen.
Oh, yep. So you'll come from here?
Yep.
Interesting. It.
Those other two guys would have been choking this. Would have been choking. The guard should have been defeating it. The post guys involved in the ball screen should have been shading it because the way it came off. Those other two guys would have been bluffing at that ball. And then the guy going in the corner would have been the tag for the road. So we pretty much gave up the shirt pass and throwback. In theory, if it worked, if they did it right.
Here's an offensive action that I like by you guys. Again, similar type formation for you guys with that one big at the point, and then the three across down low turns into like a wedge into the post. And then again turns into like a double screen coming off. We're moving from the left wing to the center of the floor. And then what we end up with is a lob from the other side of the floor. You just catch the last man back sleeping, so to speak. By design, you get everything you want out of it. What are other options in the set? What do you like? What do you not like about it?
Again, we put this in. We actually put this play in for the second time we played them. No, we put it in for Wofford. And what happened was we thought it would be good for us to pause it because they have some plus defenders and they have some minus defenders.
Okay.
We knew by setting this guard, the guard screen, a lot of times they usually switch this thing. So we think we're going to be able to dictate our matchups a little bit more by setting some guard, the guard screens. But this play was designed again to pick on that same dude. That's Monsanto, the big guard that could shoot it, guard one of our leapers. So this was designed for the back door. And we know, again, we talked about earlier, Monsanto is a ball watcher. So we know we had action coming at him. He was going to freeze, look at the ball. And we knew we could get the back of his head with one of our leapers. So that's by design. Getting the ball screen, that's going to loosen up their pressure. Getting action going towards Monsanto is going to make him freeze. And we knew we could get the back of his head at the rim. So that was the thing that we did, design that kid in particular when he was in the game. So
what do you guys do if you don't get that? If he plays it well for once type deal, what are your secondary, tertiary options within this?
We always anytime any play didn't work, we call it motion. I would break down offense. All this is 4-out ball screen. We just chase ball screens. Our guys know how to play off of that anyway, because we drill it a ton. Our guys play out of flow, what we call flow out of motion all the time. So they don't panic when our plays don't work. They know how to flow right into the next thing. So I'm sure the guard, if he didn't throw it, he probably would have bounced it, and then one of our forwards would have chased it. And when they chased it, that's what we call creating action. So they got somebody in the ball screen, hopefully got two guys playing the ball, and then we was able to be able to get them the rotation from there. So
love it. End of half play, big shot. What were you guys calling? And I mean, good players make plays, basically, is what it comes down to on this one. But you guys go again 3 low, and you sort of moved your big over a little bit, so he's not right on the rim line. And then on this one, Miller just waits and goes. Is this one that you practice? It's a step up screen. He attacks left. And when he's at the left wing, gives him a crossover sidestep to the corner and hits the corner 3 to finish it.
Yeah, that's Isaiah being Isaiah at the end. But this is another way we try to put Isaiah in space. And we had set the same screen that the big man said. We'd sometimes set that screen with a guard. And what it's designed for is for him to turn the corner. If you rewind it to the beginning, I'll talk you kind of through it. Coach, I don't think Coach would care. Sometimes we put a guard in place of this big that's on this block. And the design for this play is for him to come back screen Isaiah to get him going downhill. Number 44 at the basket on the backside.
Mm-hmm.
He set the back screen for one of our shooters, get him to the corner, and then he's going to curl to the front of the ring. And then the other guard raises up to the opposite slot. So what is it? Just giving Isaiah a back screen and then some options off of it. In this case, the big kid was popping. If you let it play, Zay could supposed to turn that corner. You probably see his friends play a little bit in other games. He turned the corner hard and just give him options. He'd have the kid kill up at the rim. He'd have one of our better shooters on the backside corner. He'd have to throw behind to the big kid behind him. And then we have our other really good shooter a bit up in the top slot. So he could go downhill. We wanted him to go hit downhill on this play, but he kind of do his own thing.
Like it. I actually really like the spacing on this particular set because, like I said, in the other times I've seen it, you guys are basically center of the floor and then wings. And then here you've moved it like block, short corner, and wing to give him more room to operate on this side of the floor.
Yeah, this is a play call. I think we got the little hammer back screen a couple of times on people. And they in the half, Zay think he's there going MJ. So he hardly ever passes the ball in the situation. We laugh because we know it.
Big players make big plays, though.
During the game where we call that play, when it's not like that situation, he'll turn the corner harder and try to make the reads and all the right plays. But
here is the first play of the second half. You guys were up 1, like I said. I wanted to know sort of what you wanted to have happen, what you were looking for to establish. I'll run this once, and then I'll try and describe it for anybody who might be listening. Obviously, start sideline out of bounds. There's a pin down on the right side of the floor. A diagonal cut action to bring the person up to the 3-point line, and then pin down action where he takes on the big and hits a 3 in his face. So what were you looking to establish? Did you run it the way you wanted to? Talk me through it.
This is kind of interesting, this play, because they did a good job on us. We wanted to play out his pitch post a little bit with our big kid, because he's a really good passer up there, number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we were trying to pick on Monsanto again, the big kid that's guarding our lights and got going to the corner going out.
Right.
And again, we talked about he's not real good at guarding off the ball, and we try to put him in a split game. But they changed their matchups up, and we actually going against 2 of the better defenders on this game. So we kind of got lucky on the shot. But the whole idea was we was trying to put our big kid in the pitch post and play off his flash, and then get some split game action on his weak side,
Right,
with Monsanto. But Monsanto wound up guarding our 4-man instead, or who we put our 4-man. So it didn't quite work like we dreamed it up, which was a good adjustment by them, because they wound up doing that. Somebody else did that to us in the tournament. I think it was Mercer, who wound up putting their 4-man on our kid number 44 instead of on number 13, who we consider our 4-man. But their game's so different. Caleb Hunter is really good going to the basket 44.
right.
A little more of a stretch the floor 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting that at the end of the year, people finally realized, hey, we just put our 4-man on the kid that don't shoot as well, and put our guard on the guy that can. And it kind of messed us up. In the Mercer Championship game, it really frustrated us, because all of our middle break stuff, like the trail guy stuff, we couldn't get it because they were just switching that guard to guard high. So it was interesting that people figured that out late.
Next one was, and coaches, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump in. I really like the 45 cut and pin down action on this one. So the ball starts in the backcourt. We bring it up. We got an advanced pass. We get nothing out of it. We bring it back out and play, if I remember correctly, gets swung back around to the right slot. And then as this happens, we attack off of a screen, 45 cut on the other side of the floor. And then he curls off of a pin down, swing, and then we attack the center again off of the next ball screen, which basically creates an empty side ball screen. So talk me through the action. Do you love the shot? Do you like the result? What were you trying to get? All of it.
See, y'all basketball geniuses, man, make the stuff way more complicated than it was. This is this is us coming down the floor. And we talked about, I said a little bit earlier, our guys know how to play out of flow, play off our motion. Anytime they get a chance to pitch ahead, now he's a kid that couldn't shoot that shot. That's why he didn't take it. And they're just trying to get back into the secondary. You saw number 4, the kid with the headband, after he made the basket cut, if you rewind a little bit.
Yep.
And he was trying to come back to the top. If you, all right.
Did I not go far enough? Sorry.
No, you fine. He's a guy who can't take that shot. He's playing around with it. And then the kid with the headband was trying to get back to the top of the key for a reversal. But once the guard passed the ball across the floor, now we're in our breakdown anyway, and we have rules for our motion. So the rest of the stuff that you saw were just some of our rules. Anytime there's a pick and pop in front of you, the next guy over to 45 cut. Anytime we tell our forwards to get themselves up, so you may see a random pin down in there. The rule is not to stand, because the forwards are the guys that create an action. So you're gonna see them basket cut. You may see them pinning down. You may see them chasing the ball screen. Their rule is not to stand, and we want the lane open. So we don't want them standing at the rim after the initial break. Their chances to post is during the initial push in the middle break. But after that, they're action guys for us. So
right.
Action about chasing the ball and setting screens and things like that. So all that was, like, it's beautiful that you thought it was a set, but that's our motion. That's our breakdown. And all that was just based off their rules. And it's all based off their personnel, who they are. Like Caleb Hunter, the kid that cut, he's an excellent cutter. So we try to emphasize to him to cut, especially when you can see that 45. And we love for our guys after, especially a middle ball screen, when our big guy pop, for the 45 to happen behind it, because nobody's there to tag or choke on that throwback. So we get a lot of open threes off that cut. So
would you teach stuff like this, like your motion type offense out of the breakdown? Would you teach this by doing, say, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, or would you just, hey guys, we're playing, and these are some of the constraints that you're playing within, go play?
We break down a ton now. We spend a lot of time on breakdown. We try to drill it into the head, the rules. And once we start playing, we try to make them, let them make decisions on their own. And what you'll find is like the guys going, as long as they understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, they will start playing to their strengths within the rules of the thing. So we don't want them being robots and think, hey man, every time a pick and pop happen, oh shoot, I forgot the back door. You don't have the back door. But like man, Caleb, like you're an excellent cutter. Once if you see this happen, maybe thinking this. So we just try to we do a lot of breakdown to try to get them the concepts, but we try not to make them be robots.
Right.
Be overthinking it. So if they mess it up, they mess it up. And they understand, like when the ball goes to certain places, this is some stuff that you can do. We give them options of what they can do, not saying what they have to do. So the more we do it, the more they understand it, and they get a feel for it.
Yeah, Mike DK said that it looks like a little bit of Lithuanian pick and roll motion.
Yeah, like I have buddies who we call, I guess, Lift here or Buffalo or someplace, but they're too big. A lot of people think we're running that a lot, but we're not. That's just off flow motion. And you'll see it could really be built a lot based on personnel. We have guys that come off ball screens. We have guys that don't. We have guys that just pop ball screens. We got some guys that just roll. So it's kind of like it look different based on personnel. That was two guys at the forward spots that could shoot. So it was a lot more space on that lineup with that group. So.
Defending a little bit of pistol action over here. So they get a wing handoff into a ball screen, and then they get by your guy and make a fantastic finish.
Yeah, this is like our freshman, and we couldn't play him this game much. That the pistol always is an automatic switch in our schemes. If they played it right, they would have been automatic switched into an ice and look like. Let me see who's guarding it.
Right.
Now this guy coverage is a switch. So it would have been, they played it right at the beginning. And then this ball screen should have been switched, which he did. And he just got blown. KT is not one of our better on-ball defenders. The way we played it out of this corner, this is what we give them a good for that defensively, starting out of the corner. We don't leave the corner.
Right.
Unless they can put their chest on the ball. So this is just a great offensive play for them. This is the way he played it. We played it the way we want to play it.
That's a fantastic finish, in my opinion.
We gave Hayden, we may or may not have given it, because he's such a good shot blocker, 25 at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
We may or may not have given him a bad, because we try to emphasize putting the chest on the ball, taking that charge. He had time to put his chest on that one, so we probably did give him a bad. We probably won taking that charge. He had time to put his chest on that one.
We got another one defensively, bit of a breakdown here. I was wondering if you guys, if you meant to help ball side on this and what the rules are. So basically, ball starts in the right slot. He attacks. He goes strong hand. Your big kind of gets beaten, even though he's sort of dropped or in ice. And then you help off the corner, and they hit the three. I think you actually get called for the foul on this one as well.
See, that's the same dude that messed it up because that's that damn freshman. He wasn't very good game.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to pick on you if you ever watch this. My apologies.
No. If you freeze it. And this is something that we had to help him with. Like he never quite figured it out. He's wrong already, and that's why he's getting killed. He should be higher up the floor. If he's higher up the floor in the closed stance, I'm talking about the kid guarding the kid in the corner, the one who wound up fouling. I wish you could see my arrow. If you want a little bit to the point.
You can you can use annotate if you know how to. You highlight up top, and then there's like a button that says annotate. But I could do it for you if you prefer.
If you take your arrow, let me see. Let me tell you. Boom. Right now, back it up towards the rim a little bit. Towards.
Hang on. Let's back up.
Just another. Get to the point of the screen, and kind of where your arrow is now. Maybe a little bit more to the right. That's where that kid should be standing. No. You got it right there. Boom. So that's where that kid should be.
On the line, up the line.
Yep. And if he's in the right spot, this ball handler wouldn't have seen so much space, and he felt confident going down the hill, and so he wouldn't have been so late on his closeout. So he is wrong right now, and that's what got him in trouble at the point of the screen. But we also, both our guys on this weak side, we wouldn't be on number 3 besides he's outside the ball a little bit on this weak side. We'd love for number 12, the other kid, to be on the nail a little bit to his left as well. but it's the freshman that screwed that ball screen coverage up. He got to choke that one out and be in position to cover that corner. He's way too flat. And that's something like young kids, maybe it's our problem. A lot of our young kids coming in our program have this problem. When they want to help, they think going backwards. And they don't realize when they go backwards, they put him out of position a lot.
Right.
He think he's covering his butt and he ain't getting kicked by a back door by being where he is. And a lot of our young guys that we've had, the kind of I've had in my career, they think that by backing up towards the rim it helps them, but they don't realize that actually it makes it worse because I make him late on the next thing. So in his mind, he's doing good. He ain't getting beat on the back door, but if he come up the line some, he don't even have to help on the drive because the guy ain't gonna see other space to attack it, and that make us close out shorter. And that's something that we have to really drill with our young kids. But AJ gonna be phenomenal. He's gonna be a great player. I mean, he gonna figure it out because he want to be good. But that problem is all in his initial position. If he's
AJ, you got the stamp of approval at least for sure. But if he's on the line, up the line, it creates
that drive. This drive don't happen or don't come as deep, and then his closeout so much shorter. And so what happens? He's not in position. Drive happens. He's late to help.
Yeah.
And then he fails closeout.
So the it creates a two-way stunt here by being out of position. Talk to me about the closeout. What are your teaching points for corner threes? What are you telling your guys to do? I'm going to assume it's not this.
Yeah, we don't want them coming out the corners anyway. We just want them stunting out of them. But this kid, Brewer, is a phenomenal shooter. In that case, he should have flew by on him. We wouldn't leave the floor before him, but we'd try to contest the shooting hand, and we'll fly by in the situation when somebody's a really good shooter. And the emphasis is once they feet hit the floor to come back into the play.
Love it. This is just Isaiah being Isaiah. Wanted to show it. Wanted to give him credit. I don't even think it really needs comment. It's just
that dunk got no love. Everybody kept showing the lob. That was like my favorite dunk of the game. He caught the thing so far back.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible for a guy that's 6'1". I'm being kind, I think so. Good for you in transition, but I felt that it was one that really changed momentum. And the reason that I put it in, other than wanting to tip my hat, is as a coach, do moments like this, I think the answer is simply yes, but like, do moments like this help you coach your team more? Does it raise the level of enthusiasm? Do guys get involved more? Do you like, are you able to coach them better when that happens? All of that.
See, the thing that, again, if you look at our bench, man, that's what we're probably afraid to show it to our guys. Like they got our bench so excited for each other. And two things we'll probably show them in our film session after we grade them. First of all, we show them the bench is so into the moment and over themselves. They're happy for somebody else. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the kids threw up a tire signal during this thing. I think it's 14.
Threw up a what? Sorry?
He threw up a tire signal. Like number 14, I think, was after the play. And
yep. I think I don't have it, but I think you were right. I think he was like sub. Like
so what we do if they call a timeout, like we start, hey, look at them, they're ready to go. Like we're about to tap these boys out.
Get them out of here. Love it.
We're about to be at the point where we usually try to break people. So we would make the emphasis of the bench, hey, be happy for your teammates. But we also would show them, hey, we're about to break them. They argue at each other. Guys want them out of the game. And this is part of our mentality for this game, especially.
And this is you standing up to give feedback to coach them, if I'm not mistaken.
What do you give them the damn defense? Because I don't know if it was a 22's game. I was probably trying to get somebody back because they get so excited. They love to celebrate Duncan, man.
Coaches love that next play mentality. We're already thinking about the next thing. They're still celebrating. What do we got in here? Get your ass back. I agree, Jamie, for sure. All right, so this to me was just a testament to how prepared you guys were. They just threw in a quick zone in there. They hadn't played very much zone in the second half. You guys are like 2 passes and a 3. What's sort of like your shot selection against zone? Who has the carte blanche to shoot? And what are you looking for? Like, are you trying to go deeper, or is it first available? Like, how do you guys decide what's a good shot for you?
Again, this is I tapped my stuff in the back. This is Dre Gray scouting here.
Hey,
they don't play a lot of zone, but I do know traditionally. But every time we prepare for them, I only know if I think they ran one possession the first game, and they may have run like a possession. They ran a possession at the end of the game against us at their place. when Isaiah dropped off his foot. But I know Coach Shea, the senator of Forbes, that he likes to do this at the timeouts and situations. So every time I tell the guy, hey, be ready for 1-3-1, 1-3-1. So we actually practiced against the 1-3-1 leading up to this game because I knew it was a chance they'd show it at some point. But we actually,
and Trey, like I'll pat you on the back too. There was zero hesitancy in this clip. Like watching this game, it was like they went 1-3-1, and your guys were like, "All right, 2-guard front, let's do what we're doing. We know what's up." Like,
but we our guys are comfortable attacking zones. And again, this go back to we didn't get these guys prepared for anything we may see in games. And we just run a motion of 4 out against their zone. And our guys know rules. They know the attack and to find the gaps into it. We do have a couple of hitters that we will run. But in this case, this is just our 4 out against the 1-3-1. And then the key is a guy that does have the green light to take that shot. So he just shot it with confidence. And again,
and is that all you ask for against the zone? Shoot it with confidence, step into it. Like
we look diagonal. We look diagonal a lot. You want those diagonal passes. And then we want those guys to be themselves. Like in this lineup, Isaiah is more of a slasher. We will run like a little horns look against it if Zay, if he pulls it. Sometimes Zay won't be in the spot he is now, number one. Sometimes we make him in the big split, the middle guy in that 1-3-1, kind of like a horns look.
Right.
And let him catch it around the free throw line and play off of that. We may move a shooter up into this high slot while Isaiah is. It kind of depends on the personnel. The biggest thing is, though, just getting the ball moving, getting the shot. And then you watch our board coverage again. This is like another situation where we got 4 board guys in.
Right.
And you see those guys come and do their job in this situation.
And nothing to the point of like, hey, we have to get this many passes or this deep in the shot clock. It's just best available. Let's shoot the ball when it's free type deal.
We won't ever say that. It's probably to a fault, to be honest. Our guys will take some curves, or we call them curves. They'll take some ones that make me cringe sometimes, but we won't ever tell them guys not to take a shot that they are capable of making.
So here's the monster slam in the other direction. This is a little bit of a defensive breakdown. I think this regains a little bit of momentum from Isaiah's slam, but basically you guys end up empty side pick and roll. He rejects, he gets all the way to the basket and slams it. Talk to me about help principles. Talk to me about what you'll say to your guys, if anything, or are you just going to let them play through it and solve it? And like, you know that it's just a breakdown.
Yeah, again, we look like a 22 press right here. Somebody must have called it off. They verbalized that themselves. They know, and it's something that we practice. They call our presses off. The guys on the floor calls it off. So somebody must have called it off. And
right.
It's their discretion if they felt uncomfortable with for any reason. I think what happens here is Angelo, number 13, the guy on the ball, is not listening, or Mo is not talking. According to our personnel, probably should have been a switch.
Okay.
Angelo jumps into an ice, so the point of the screen gets screwed up royally. But after this happened, Caleb Hunter, the guy that was down, number 44, is the guy that's in the wrong now. If we grade them, Angelo and Mo will both get bads because there's a communication didn't happen. They played the ball screen wrong. Either that should have been a switch or ice, but they look like they both playing 2 different coverages. Right. But Caleb Hunter, the guy's furthest away, whose man's furthest away, he should have been at least 2 feet in the paint at the charge circle. If he was in the right spot, he would have been in position to rotate over, put his chest on the ball. So in this clip, all 3 guys, number 4, number 13, and number 44, would get bads in this clip. Because they screw up some communication up there with the ball at the point of the screen, and then Caleb screws up his rotation once the ball gets loose. So,
Dre, would it be fair to say, just from listening to what you've said from some of the other clips here, your most important guy, your low man, your base, whatever you want to call the defender who is the help, would it be fair to say that you're only bringing him from the farthest away point when it's an empty side pick and roll? Or are you like, because it does kind of look like you're on the line, up the line when you have an offensive player on the loaded side. What are your tenets that are different where you're actually bringing it from the opposite side?
If it was somebody in this corner, on the ball side corner,
yeah,
we should have been in theory able to shut that thing down on that strong side. If they executed the ball screen coverage correctly.
Right.
in this case, because it's empty, and we have practiced this, like whose tag is it, or who's. And in this situation, because Caleb is an empty side, and there's nobody's going to be able to tag out the corner in that ball screen. It would have been the lowest guy away, furthest away. So in this case, Caleb, and he would have been the guy responsible for help. But one thing we will do now, this is where Scout will get involved a little bit. Like say it's a team that run, I don't know, maybe some hammer actions, like on this weak side after this empty ball screen. You know,
Right.
like it may be a situation where we actually designate somebody else to go help on that drive. But that would be like straight Scout, and this team run this hammer action and know if Keller come over, they're going back screens A and get the 3 in the backside corner. That would be something that's just like based on scouting. But our basic rule would be what you said. If it's a low side, the ball should never get down hill like that.
They should see the chest and
Out the corner should choke that out.
Yep.
Above the side, it'd be this furthest guy, then everybody else would rotate. And
Love it.
We practice the rotations a ton in practice.
And we got a set that I really liked from you guys. So I think it's after this offensive rebound, you get it back out and swing it around. So basically the ball's at the point, and now we've decided what we're going to get into. We get a pin down and we ghost out of the first one. We slip the second one. Basically he's rolling down on a low man tag and he gets the lob. You don't actually make the bucket, but you get the foul. I like this set. Talk me through it.
Yeah, again, we're trying to get the right matches in the ball screen. So once it comes out, I'll talk you through what we were thinking with it. We actually call this we got a floppy series. If you've been watching, you know we got a series we run out of floppy. This is one countless of our floppy. Sometimes number one, Zay, in our regular play, that would be somebody that could shoot the ball. And he's running off those two bigs as a floppy action. This is a counter off of that. We want to look the same. So he act like he's coming off. They're sprinting into a ball screen. We actually wanted him to ghost this one because we liked the matchup the point guard had.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why he didn't say he ghosted it, because we like Sloan on key. And then, like you said, we knew they had problems that middle third ball screen as far as who to tag and who's going to tag that thing. So in this case, it's the Brewer kid who's also a ball watcher. We knew if we got him and where he was supposed to be responsible for this tag, that he wouldn't see it with all that movement happening around him. And as you said, this is something that we actually designed or prepared for this game. So, and we'll do that as well in scouting. We have run the plays that we think we're going to use during the game. This one we work. If I go to this one and pitting Brewer or Monsanto in that backside corner, that they wouldn't see the tag.
I love it, like the ghosting out of both of them and then rolling down this double side, and it's late. It just I love it. It's good action, and I would have loved to see more of it in this game, actually, to be perfectly honest.
Again, that's one of all of our strengths is one of our weaknesses. We let those guys play. Coach don't really like running a lot of sets. To be honest with you, if I ever got a team, I'll be kind of like Coach. I'm gonna try to make them play hard defensively and go to the boards and run the floor. And part of you going to make them do all that stuff, you better give them a little bit of freedom somewhere. And this is what we do with our guys. We give them a little bit of freedom offensively.
I'm going to go on record and be the only person to say anything that if ever needs to be more like now, just as we're saying, in terms of if ever I got a team. Sure. Last clip, set I like, end of the game. I thought this was basically like, I mean, you guys are 6 up. There's a minute 20 left. They actually didn't end up scoring again beyond this point, but I thought this was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to say. Just interesting alignment, and I think it took the air out of the tires, if I remember correctly, and I've got the right one. But this, I mean, it's the same alignment that you ran at the end of the first half and that I asked you about a few other times and that you kind of talked through. Turns into the double. He gets all the way downhill, drop off, big time slam to end the game. And I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of time left, but that ended the game, in my opinion. Give me 1 second. Let Jamie back in. Talk me through all the action, if it's any different or similar. I mean, it's not all the way over to one side of the floor, but you still have that screen going to the left on the step up. Kind of turns into a double, and then when he rolls out, there's only one man back. It's last man defending. So what do? Do you help or not? And puts it down.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the initial alignment, again, that's our break set. That's the middle break stuff. That's what they was there right there. And then the coach called something. And that's when they start moving around after that. This is part of our wedge series. And again, we knew about screening and this setting out, we wanted a little bit. Isaiah said it's supposed to be setting a wedge screen for our trail big in the situation. He
Right
missed
here.
that
Yeah.
screen.
He rejects it though, right?
And
Yeah.
then he's going to turn around and set a ball screen for the guard. And again, this is us trying to get the right matchups that we wanted. In this situation, we wound with Sloan on Keyshawn Langley, which is a matchup we thought was favorable for us.
Right.
Then he was able to get downhill. They was worried about a big kid in the ball screen, the pop. You see, they big didn't even show on this one.
No, he died in the sauce. He was gone.
Hayden might hit like 2 threes this game before this, so he was scared to come over to help on the ball screen. So we knew he was going to be able to get Keyshawn Langley downhill against Sloan, who's not a great on-ball defender. And then that's just basketball players making basketball plays after that.
Love it.
Really good in ball screens. Zay is going to. One thing we did talk about with Isaiah going into this tournament is that when he's not the guy in the ball screen using them, the rolls some and slips them towards the basket because he's really good around the basket. So he was actually doing this a ton in the tournament, like slipping or rolling after he set that wedge screen. Because some of our other guys would get behind us as shooters or go out to the corner.
I think you had actually mentioned to me that when he was younger, he played some 4 and 5 due to his athletic.
Yeah, like Ashton Hagen and the JD Note and them guys playing guard. And he was like the 4-man on that team. So
nice. Well, it shows there. I mean, I think we're almost exactly on time. So Mike DeCracker can't make fun of me today about asking for extra time. But basically, unless anybody has some questions for Coach Gray, that's all I've got today. Other than, of course, winding it down by saying thank you so much for, both spending the time today. This is an hour and a half. It can get a little bit tedious sometimes, I think, for certain people. But thank you for spending the time today. But also thank you for allowing me into your circle, getting to know you guys over this past year. I've learned a lot from you guys, and I've mentioned it a few times to LB, who's on the call right now. But we're pretty locked down up here, so being able to live vicariously through you guys, watch your games this year, cheer for you in the tournament has really made things go quite a bit easier. So thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate you.
No, thank you so much for having me on. Again, this is great. I didn't realize we went for an hour and a half. I'm sitting here running my mouth. I hope I didn't bore everybody, but thank you so much for having me on, and hopefully I'll help somebody get better today. And that's what it's all about. Basketball is about showing, growing. The more you give, the more you get back in this business. So that's the one thing I've learned. And I'm never going to be afraid to give, because I know when I give, I receive. So thank you guys so much. And if any questions anybody have, I'd be happy to answer. If not, thank you.
Appreciate you. I'm going to stop the recording, Dre, if you want to hang out for a little bit. Sometimes coaches have more questions afterwards. I'm sure some guys have some questions for you that are maybe not related to this, but I'll shut down the recording, hang out for a bit if you want. Thanks so much. This has been awesome. See you guys next week on Run It Back. Thank you.